In today's video, we're going to be talking about using the hybrid clubs. I'm going to show you 4 great shots you can use these clubs to help you save shots next time you're out on the golf course. Stay tuned for more info. Welcome back to the TruGolf Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, today at Branston Golf and Country Club. Today's video, as I mentioned in the intro there, is all about using the hybrid club. So we're going to be talking about this in 4 different situations, the top 4 places I use my hybrid and how I think it can help your game. And I'm going to give you a little bit of info as to what I'm trying to think of or any setup changes I'm trying to make as we play these 4 different shots. So the first one is off the tee. So this is, I guess, quite a simple one, but I'd start with I guess furthest away from the green, and we're going to move towards the green. So I use these off a very small tee, but I use these off the tee when I'm looking for accuracy. I want some distance, but I'm not trying to hit the ball as far as my driver. Perhaps a slightly shorter par 4, maybe even a long par 3 where I need that distance. So my hybrid club here is a 19° 3 hybrid. It flies for me just over 200 yards, about 205, 210 carry, and it finishes for me about 230. So I use this at that yardage. So if I've got something, a hole, a par 4, perhaps where it narrows in at a certain yardage and I can't hit my driver, this is where I may hit the hybrid club off the tee. And also obviously a long par 3 if I've got a 230 odd yard par 3 or playing that way, perhaps with the wind conditions, this might be, well, my club of choice. Now a hybrid, for me, it's built at an iron length or close to an iron length. It's not designed to be hit like a driver, a fairway would. So I'm looking for quite a low tee height. I wouldn't tee this ball really high. We're not trying to sweep the ball really high up in the air. We're trying to hit it more like we'd hit a long iron. So whatever the longest iron in your bag is, for me, I've got a 3 iron in there. This 3 hybrid does go further than my 3 iron. But a lot of players are ditching 3 and 4 irons and starting at 5, so they've got hybrid clubs replacing their 4s and their 3s. So they're designed to be played as irons, not woods. So I would tee it pretty low. I would still have the ball forwards in your stance, but not as far forwards as where I'm going to be playing a driver or 3 wood from. So for me, the driver ball position is opposite my lead heel. A 3 wood is coming about a ball back of that, and then a hybrid another ball back again. So I'm playing a couple of balls inside my lead heel. So it's definitely forwards in my stance, but not as far forwards as where I'd be playing one of my woods from my driver or my fairway wood. I want to set my pressure relatively even. I'm not looking for a sweeping movement like a driver where I'm going to be tilted behind it. Unless I'm hitting off a high tee, but my worry is with a thin club face that we're occasionally going to go underneath it or not get the strike that we're looking for. So generally when I'm using off the tee, I tee it relatively low so it's just above ground level, and I'm trying to set my body, my pressure quite even, heel toe, and more importantly the left-right balance. So with a driver I'd be more on my trail side, tilted behind it. With a hybrid here hitting more like an iron, I want to be a little bit more even. Let me go ahead and hit this first shot. So this for me is quite a good option off this tee. So I can fly the ditch, I can fly the water, but I don't reach the fairway bunker out there, so I'm playing to a wider area. Again, a reason why I might hit a hybrid off a tee. So not as far forwards as a driver, more where you'd be playing the long iron equivalent, set up pressure more even, and let's go ahead and pull the trigger. So for me, it's a nice safe shot off a tee. I feel like I'm more likely to hit fairways with this than I am with one of my woods. I am giving up some yardage, but there's certain times and holes where we need to do that and play for accuracy. The next shot is going to be out of the rough. So let's jump over there. So the second place you might well see me use a hybrid club is when I'm in the rough. So if you have an awful lie in the rough, if it's really sitting down there, you may have to take a club with a bit more loft than this still, more of one of your mid to short irons to really try and gouge that ball out, create more of a downward angle of attack, but rely on the fact that you've got a lot more loft. The hybrid works really well to cut through the rough as long as it's not sitting right at the bottom. So I've got a lie here, it's definitely down in the grass. I wouldn't want to hit a 3-wood from that, but I feel quite happy hitting a 3 hybrid from that, so more of an iron replacement. I think I can still get that ball out, whereas a worse lie still, I may have to take a more lofted golf club. Now there's only a couple of changes I would make here. When the ball is more down in the rough, if I've got to try and get it out a little bit further, I may grip a little lower down the handle to encourage me to tilt over just a touch more. And the other thing I'll do when the ball's out the rough and I've really got to try and hit down on it more is just set a little bit more pressure onto my lead side. So instead of my pressure being 50-50, I may just try and start more like I would with a 7-iron and be about 60-40 favouring my front foot. So a little lower down the handle, a little bit more pressure onto my front foot. Those things are just going to help me strike a little bit more downward that I've got to do. I'm not trying to lift the ball, I'm definitely creating a downward angle of attack. We'd expect to see a divot. So these clubs work really well. I'm going to give it a go. Personally, I'm going to keep this ball position the same. If I had a worse lie, I could move the ball a bit further back in my stance, but I'm playing a couple of balls width inside my lead heel. I'm just going to set a bit more pressure onto my lead leg and grip that club that little bit lower to encourage me to tilt over more. These things are helping me hit down more on the golf ball to help me squeeze that ball out the rough. Well, that worked absolutely spot on. Definitely got a downward angle of attack, got the ball, then the divot. The ball came out absolutely fine. You know, and we're in rough here that is a couple of inches thick. If it's an awful lie, if it's sitting right down there, remember you may have to take a club with more loft. But if you think you can get the hybrid out of it, if you've practiced it and you know the depth you can play from, these are a great recovery club. I guess why TaylorMade started off calling them rescue clubs, whereas everybody else was calling them hybrids. They're very good at rescuing you from different situations. The next one is going to be the fairway bunker shots. Let's jump over there. So the third situation you found me in here is a fairway bunker shot. So this is a par 5, reachable in 2, but if I've hit my drive in this fairway bunker, I'm going for maximum distance. If the lip is low enough, this is a really good option to try and get that distance. If you're using an iron, there are narrower soles. So if you do catch the ground, the sand, a fraction before the ball, it digs, it digs, it digs. Whereas using a lofted fairway wood or a hybrid, you can still get that height, but you've got that wider sole for a little bit more forgiveness, the feeling that it's going to skim a little bit more if you do catch it just that little bit before the golf ball. If you catch it way back, yes, you've lost your distance, but the worst thing is we're back on the fairway and we've hit it the same distance we'd hit it if we were hitting a wedge. Well, fair enough, that's a risk I'm willing to take. It's not going to get me in any trouble, but if I can catch this cleanly, I can get that ball a couple of 100 yards down there towards the green, maybe even on the green from this place. If the lip was higher, so if it was built up, I'd have to take my medicine. I'd have to play out with a bit more loft, potentially even my sand wedge, my lob wedge, depending on how high the bunker is. But a lot of fairway bunkers are built more like this, very low lip. They're not meant to be a penal bunker unless you're playing a links golf course where you tend to have fairway pot bunkers, and much smaller than this. This is a situation where I can actually green light, go for this, go for the flag. Now, I have got a little bit of the overhanging willow tree here, but if I aim up that left side, I've got enough room and the trees thin out on the left, even if it stayed down that side. So as I said, this is a definite shot I would take on with this club. I think it's a fantastic club to use. Quick couple of setup things I would do. One, because it's a loose surface, you need to wiggle your feet in a little bit for balance. So I'd compensate by gripping a little lower down the handle. So wiggling your feet in, it's lowering your body, but it's ultimately giving you some balance and grip. Compensate by going a little lower down the handle. We're better hitting this a little bit out the bottom of the golf club than we are catching it really early, heavy, hitting too much sand before the golf ball. So I wiggle my feet in. I'd keep the ball position very much where I'd play it for most shots. If you're going to do anything, I'd go more forwards to feel like you're sweeping it, but I'm playing this around a club head's width inside my lead heel, about where I play it from the tee or the fairway as well. Out the rough that we just covered, you saw that if anything, I was going to move the ball back in my stance. Without the bunker, I'm going to play it normal. If anything, I'm going to move it slightly forwards. It's just because I'm trying to create more of a sweeping movement rather than a descending blow with it. Now, the only thing I'm trying to think of after I've gripped a little lower is maintaining my levels. What we don't want to see is too much up and down movement of my head. So I'm going to just try and feel nice and steady, like I maintain my height, and I may swing that club a little bit smoother to achieve that. So could have a practice rehearsal move and just feel like I'm maintaining my levels. Let's give it a go. So that little lower down the handle to compensate, and just nice smooth swing to keep my height. So I got definitely ball contact, ball then sand contact. I got a nice high flight. It's way down there on the fairway, just a little bit short of the green. It was well worth the risk. This is a great shot, a great club to play from these areas. Our fourth shot that we're going to be taking this from is actually round the green, what I call the hybrid putt. So let's jump over there. So the fourth situation I've found myself in here is a hybrid putt. Now, I have covered this in more detail before, so I will put a link up here. It's worth clicking on and actually looking through the whole instruction of that video talking about the hybrid putt. I'm going to run through it in perhaps a little less detail now, but again, it's a great option for round the green using this hybrid club. It really is a very versatile type of club, iron, wood, whatever you want to call it. So I found myself where I'm only around 3 yards from the edge of the green, but I've got around a yard of the rough grass first, before fringe, before the green itself. So it's one of those places you feel like perhaps I could putt the ball. And if I was on the fringe grass, definitely. But when you've just got that little bit of uncertainty with the rough and it's a little bit patchy, you know, we're only in March here, so you know, we're not in full growing season. The course looks in great condition, but there is a little bit of inconsistency here to go over. When I'm using a very low lofted putter, 3.5 degrees, that ball's going to jump and bob a little bit more, and it's a little bit hard to judge the rollout. Now, you'll see some tour players, Justin Rose plays this club a lot round the edge of the green, the fairway with the hybrid club. Some tour players don't. The criticism from the tour players is they feel the ball comes off the face a little bit too quickly, quicker than it would do if you were using a putter. And I agree, it does. But because I've got to go through that yard or couple of yards of rough grass first that's going to slow the ball, I try and tell myself I'm just putting. So I'm going to pretend when I'm actually making these practice strokes and hitting this, that I'm just putting on the green. I'm not trying to compensate by hitting any harder through the rough. And therefore the rough grass is decelerating, slowing the ball down a little bit more than the green grass would. And that's going to compensate for the fact the ball comes off the face that little bit quicker than a putter would do. So for me, it works really well. As long as you're only using it, I wouldn't go much more than sort of through 2-3 yards of rough grass here. We're not going to play it from a long way from the edge of the green. But when you're in a situation like this, or when the ball's settled against that collar of rough, so you can only really get to the equator of the ball, again, it's a fantastic option. With this, what I want to do is play it like a putter. So I'm going to play the ball position like a putter, nearer my front foot, my lead foot here. I also want to move that golf club up in the air like a putter. So let me just grab my putter. I won't bother taking the head cover off. But your putter shaft angle here is about 70-71 degrees. So you want to move the hybrid up by about 10 degrees, even if that lifts the heel of the golf club a little bit up in the air. It just means I can get closer to it, I can grip lower, it can become like a putt. I would use your putting grip. So I'm using thumbs down the center, I'm using a reverse overlap putting grip, and I'm just trying to tell myself I'm using a putter. So this hybrid particular one has got 19 degrees aloft. Anything around that, you know, anywhere from 17 to 27, you'll be fine. If you've got a couple of hybrids, the ones with a bit more loft may work a little bit better when the rough is a bit patchier, or you've got a shorter hybrid putt. Whereas the lower lofted one may work better on a situation like this, where I've got actually quite a lot of rollout room, but I'm reading this like a putt. Let me go ahead and see if I can hit one. So up like a putter, grip it like a putter, and hit it like a putter. I've hit that a little bit too firm, a little bit too quick, and it's going to roll on just towards the back edge of the green there, leaving myself a little bit more than I wanted, a good 8 feet. Let me just have one more go at that. It felt like it came off a little quick, but I think I just basically hit it too hard. I think if I had a putter, I'd hit it too hard. Let me give one more a go and see if I can get the pace of this. That's got a better speed to it. I think that's going to finish quite nicely up there, pretty close to the hole. Got a chance. So this is, you know, this is about as tough as it's going to be in terms of what have I got here, a 30-foot hybrid putt. The ones where are a little bit closer, maybe a little bit easier to judge. Use it round the putting green first, get used to the pace it comes off at, and I think it could be a really good shot for you to play. I hope that video's helped. So that's 4 ways you can use the hybrid. Off the tee, we talked about it. We talked about it out of the rough. We talked about it out of the fairway bunker shots, and now around the edge of the green in what I would class as a hybrid putt. So it's a really useful tool for lots of different places, not just from a fairway. I hope that video has helped. If it has, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Do subscribe to my channel for all the other videos just by clicking here, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.